Hello everyone, Nick here from New Body Fitness. Today's going to be a little live video on a fat loss Q&A. So at the minute I'm in France in Nice airport, so if the connection does go, please pop that in the comments just so I can make sure I'm in a good area. So fat loss basics. To start with, you need to be looking at the difference between fat loss and weight loss. So two different things. One is going to be based on calories in versus calories out. So your weight loss, so if you stop eating, basically you're going to lose weight. There's no ifs and buts about it. You know, you don't have enough calories going in, your body's going to start shedding its weight, whether that be lean tissue, fat, water. It's going to lose weight irrelevant of what you're doing. Fat loss is something slightly different. So fat loss is actually what our body's made up of in terms of how our composition looks, how our, whether we've got good shape, and just whether the body is a machine or whether it's just not working to its full efficiency. So there's a couple of foundation things that you need to start to look at with fat loss. To start with, it's going to be down to looking at the gut. So the gut is the most important engine in our body, our digestive system. Because fat loss is going to come down to the types of food that we put into our body and how we use them therefore after. So we have to start to look at what type of food are we eating. I recommend to all my clients that they start with adding in single ingredient foods. That is my number one kind of tip for any person starting your program. It's all going to be down to single ingredient foods. So making sure you can actually see what you're eating, see the ingredients in your foods. So I've got a couple of examples for you. So I'm at the airport, like I said, just running into the cafe. There wasn't really a lot on offer. So we've got an example of a non-single ingredient food, i.e. a cookie. So you can't really see the ingredients in that. All you can see is a mashup of flour, sugar, fats, things like that. You can't actually see the ingredients. So what happens is that's going to go into the body. Our body's got to find the digestive enzyme in ourselves to try and break that down. It's just not going to do it in a very efficient way. Whereas my other kind of snack is going to be this kind of rice and beef box. So it's got, you can see the beef in there, you can see the rice, you can see the peppers, you can see those types of things. So it's just a lot better, putting you in a lot better stead to actually break it down later on once it does get into our digestive system. And the only way we can use that is if we can break it down in the first place. It's kind of like putting bottles of petrol into your car. You know, your car's got to try and break through the bottle before it actually gets to the good nutrients or the good fuel. So think about that. So start off with the gut. That's going to be your foundation. Start with that. So those single ingredient foods, putting that into play, so we can actually draw some of the nutrients out, actually use them as proper energy. Okay. Next up, so fat loss. So what's the best way to burn fat? How do we actually get our body to work in the way we want it to? So what we want you to think of the body is full of doors. Okay. So where we've got our muscles and things like that, we think of wherever our muscle is, we've got two doors: a red door and a green door. Now, red door is where we store energy, store fat or energy. Our green door is where we're going to use energy. So that's going to be our muscle cell and actually how we get it to use. So what we want to do, the end goal is basically to take all the stored energy out of the red door and push it into the green door. That's going to actually allow us to use fat and become leaner. So to start with, I want you to actually think about the word fat and start to kind of actually think of it as stored energy, because that's all it is. It's not anything bad. It's not, it's completely different from actually the dietary fat that we take in through our food. It's just a stored type of energy that our body hasn't got to use yet. So that's all it is. So in our red door, we've got all this stored energy. What we need to do is create a stress on our body. So we can create stress on our body by things like resistance training or interval training or any type of kind of physical stress that the body's not used to. So if you've never trained before in your life, we've never done any type of exercise in your life, then probably walking to the shops is going to be big enough of a stress for our body to kind of demand some energy. If you're currently constantly training, you're doing spin classes every day, you're doing weight training, then the actual demand for that stress is going to have to be a lot higher. But what we want to do is we create a stress. Our body goes, right, all this energy that's readily available in the green doors is being used because we're exercising or we're doing whatever. Now we actually need to kind of have a bit of a backup. So we take some of that stored energy out of those red doors and push them into the bloodstream, or kind of like our circulation system. and then gradually the energy that's in the bloodstream is going to start to filter into those green doors to be used. So that's kind of the basic concept behind kind of fat usage. So you're trying to create stress on the body, get the red doors to open, let the fat cells go into the circulation system, and then push those energy cells into the green doors where we're actually using them as energy. So creating stress. Interval training, it could be weight training, anything like that is going to be a big stress on the body, again depending on your level of exercise as it is. So like I say, there isn't particularly a single best way to do it. So there's no, you just doing cardio. If you kind of find yourself just jumping on the treadmill every time you go in the gym, or just going for a run and the pace is pretty much samey, or you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're probably not putting enough stress on your body to kind of warrant taking some of that energy out of those red doors. So you need to think about changing it up a little bit. So potentially getting a program which is going to incorporate some full body resistance movements, some circuit training, some interval style training onto the cardio side of things. That's going to be enough to do it. So we've kind of opened the red doors. We've pushed the energy into the circulatory system. It's going around. It's trying to be taken into the green doors. If we don't follow that kind of stress kind of period up with an energy expenditure period, then all we're going to do is going to kind of like knock on the door, but it's not going to be needed. So it's just going to go back around and then get stored back in the red door again. Okay, so you have to kind of add that secondary steady state period of exercise in after that high stress. So that's where you kind of see these. If we look at like the leanest people on the planet, you've either got kind of sprinters, or you've got like these bodybuilders who are kind of actually, their whole purpose is to become lean. That's how their training goes. So they're gonna create this massive amount of stress during their resistance training, and then you'll see them do their steady state training on the cardio side of things, where they're actually utilizing some of that energy that they freed up into the system. So there is an actual principle behind it. It's not just because you want to look they want to listen to the music on the treadmill. There's actually a principle behind actually pushing that energy that we've kind of alleviated from those red doors into those green doors. Otherwise, it's just going to float around the system again and go back into those red doors as stored energy if we're not demanding it. Okay. So if you've got any questions on any of the things so far, because it's kind of I'm trying to make it it's a complicated subject, but it's actually very simple. So it's kind of about getting your head around it and seeing that isn't actually an impossible kind of thing to do. Like I say, it's about looking at your current training and asking, are you putting enough kind of acute amounts of stress in? Because that's the other thing. If you're finding you might be a case of you're adding too much stress to your body. So there's too much physical stress. So it could be a case of you train in the morning, you train in the lunchtime, you train in the evening, you have coffees 4 times a day, your nutrition isn't great, so that's putting another stress on your body. So what that basically does is start to put you in like a chronic level of stress, where you're not actually being able to tap into the stored energy, because your body's just constantly stressed, and it's just going to kind of down regulate and just not really use the energy in the way it should be. So it might be worth having, if that's where you feel the case is and you're just hitting this plateau, it might be worth looking at your current training routine, looking at your food, looking at what drinks you're taking in and what kind of stressful situations you're putting yourself in constantly, and reassessing some of those. The ideal situation is you have no stress through the day. Your one kind of hour of stress, physically, mentally, whatever, is that time in the gym, because that's going to be the most effective for your fat loss kind of journey. So like I say, it's about using that stored energy, thinking of it as energy, not as stored fat. Taking it out of those red doors that we're storing it all in on every muscle cell that we've got. We store a certain amount of energy. We need to take it out of that cell with this kind of stressful situation, this HIIT training or the resistance training, and then push it into the green door, the green cell, which is actually utilizing it. Okay. Does that make sense so far? I hope so. I had a question from Marcy about what's going to be the best. So is it going to be a case of cardio equals fat loss? Is muscle kind of resistance work going to equal fat loss, or a bit of the both? And it's going to be a little bit dependent on your goals. If it's just a fitness goal, then you can kind of get away with a bit of cardio. but I always recommend adding some resistance training in there just to kind of activate the muscles. So another part of it is muscle tissue is kind of really active tissue. So just to have a pound of muscle tissue is going to burn between kind of 5 and 10 calories per resting hour that's in your body. So whereas body fat isn't going to burn, it's going to burn like 1 calorie, you know. So it's actually kind of a massively more effective kind of tissue to have in your body. So if you've got more muscle tissue, you're going to burn a lot more calories through the day, and that calorie deficit is going to lead to kind of this fat loss scenario, you know. So by activating muscle tissue with resistance training, you know, some body weight kind of training as well is going to be a massively positive thing, because it's actually activating the right type of tissue. Okay, say if you've got any other questions on fat loss, hopefully that's started to kind of go into it a little bit. Obviously it's a massive subject. It's going to be massively down to nutrition. So again, down to the types of food that we're putting into our body. Thinking about the actual digestive system first, that's going to be our foundation to achieving fat loss. So if your digestive system is crap and you're just filling yourself with rubbish anyway, there's no way you can do all the kind of stressful training in the world, all the resistance training in the world. It's not going to do anything. So you've got to think about the single ingredient foods that you're putting into your body, making sure you can see the ingredients that you're eating, because that's just going to digest and just allow your bodies to kind of draw a lot more nutrients from it, you know, in the first place. All right, so if you've got any other questions, we're going to do another one next week on a Q&A, potentially another subject, but we'll see if we get some more questions from this fat loss one in the aftermath of this anyway. So, but yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.